Haskell has in recent weeks distanced herself from her own party, saying she's not one of those crazy Democrats and shifting toward the middle here in the end in a Trump state where voter turnout is expected to set records. Lisa.
Thanks, Jeff. Some other races we're following. The Fox News decision desk can now project incumbent Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown, as expected, will win a third term by defeating Republican Congressman Jim Renacci. This is Fox News.
Looking for opinion done right? Then go to foxnation.com and pre-order right now. Fox Nation is the new streaming subscription service that will have exclusive daily shows, incredible documentaries, and must-see on-demand programming. That's the perfect complement for every Fox fan. Plus, go to foxnation.com, pre-order now, and get one-of-a-kind exclusive merchandise. Available now, but for a limited time only. Don't miss your chance to become a founding member. Go to foxnation.com.
Audition? Okay. It's a good thing I didn't say anything. All right, I'm going to record this and I can send it to you so you can upload.
I'm recording. You have a minute 20.
This election update brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. From the KEEL News Election Headquarters, I'm Greg Adams. Polls have now closed across our state, and we have eyes on multiple races in our region, our state, and our nation. In Shreveport, all eyes are on Shreveport's mayor's race, where incumbent Mayor Ollie Tyler is hoping to make it to the December runoff, with four major candidates looking to make the runoff with her, including Jim Talaferro, Adrian Perkins, Leo Savage, and Stephen Jackson. There are 5 constitutional amendments on the ballot in our state as well, including amendments dealing with unanimous juries, transportation trust fund dollars, and prohibiting felons from holding office. Fantasy sports are also on the ballot in a parish-by-parish vote. We are going to be keeping our eyes on this all night, and you can stay up to date all night long on this radio station's website. It's probably not long enough. How long is that?
45.
Should be good.
Turn off your mic.
This is KEEL Election Night coverage. We'll have the winners and the losers and all the numbers on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Good evening. Polls have officially closed across the state of Louisiana, and now we wait. Greg Adams here this evening, flanked by Matt Parker on the controls. We will be here until at least 11 o'clock tonight, depending on how these races go. We may be following this into the wee hours of the morning. The biggest race that we are paying attention to in our region is the Shreveport mayor's race. All eyes in the area are on this one, where incumbent Mayor Ollie Tyler is hoping to make a December runoff against one of the 4 other major candidates. We're looking at Jim Talaferro, Adrian Perkins, Leo Savage, and Stephen Jackson. We're also paying attention to the constitutional amendments on the ballot in our state, including amendments dealing with unanimous juries, transportation trust fund dollars, and prohibiting felons from holding elected office. And fantasy sports are on the ballot. Oddly enough, that is a parish-by-parish vote that we will be paying attention to, as parishes may legalize the popular pastime across the state. We're also looking at the city council races in Shreveport. We got a sheriff's race in DeSoto Parish, elections across the nation that will impact the U.S. House and Senate. We are paying attention to those as well. Even a congressional race in our area, but it's not one that people are looking at as a big one to shake up the nation. So we are paying attention to all of this stuff all night long, not just here in the studio. This is full team coverage. We are out on the streets. We have Robert J. Wright, who is out and about. Erin McCarty is out. Our friend Dan KEEL. They're all going to be out at the parties and events taking place with candidates all across the city and the region, and we'll be getting updates from them throughout the night. We also have some of the audio that we put together from earlier this year. The first mayoral forum of the year was held right here in this very studio at this very table. And we have that audio from that mayoral forum ready to roll throughout the night. I know that people have cast their votes. Polls are closed. Although, by the way, side note, if anyone you know is still in line to vote right now, and they have texted you or called you and said, polls closed and I'm still in line, I'm just going to go home, tell them to stay put. If you are in line before 8 o'clock, before the polls closed, legally you're allowed to vote. Doesn't matter how long it goes. If you're 150 people deep in line at 8 o'clock as the polls closed and you're still there in line right now, you still get to vote. So we're paying attention to all of these races. We're hopefully going to start getting some results back. I know nationally there are a lot of races being called with only 1% to 2% in. That's not how things are going to go for us tonight. We are not a decision desk. We are not going to make decisions here based on returns that we see. We are going to wait until the calls are officially made before we relay that information to you. If we get information from another news outlet, a national news outlet, in reference to a national race, if Fox News calls something, if ABC, NBC News, CNN, if one of those decision desks calls a race that has national implications, we will pass that information along to you. But as far as the mayor's race goes or the Secretary of State's race in Louisiana, any of those races, we are going to make sure that we are waiting for the official results before we pass any of that information on to you. So we've got this coverage going all night long. We are going to take a couple of breaks. So we're going to get ourselves ready to roll here. We've got continuing coverage all night long right here on KEEL.
Welcome back to KEEL's Election Night coverage on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Here's Greg Adams.
Stand by. 10.
We are back with continuing election night coverage. We will be here all the way until at least 11 o'clock tonight. Greg Adams here with Matt Parker joining us as well. He is keeping us up to date on some of the returns. Just got some returns across the state. These are, again, we are not making calls and decisions. We only have in some of these 1% of the precincts reporting, so these are not official final results, and we will not be making those decisions even if there's 50% in. Until we are told otherwise, these are just the results and the returns that we have. Mm-hmm. Right now, very interesting in the Secretary of State's race. Again, only 1% of precincts reporting. Kyle Ardoin has a 27%. He has a 7% lead overall, 27% of the vote over Gwen Collins Greenup, who has 27% or 20%. Did not even consider her. We talked earlier, Matt, in the 5 o'clock hour, about that particular race, and I really thought it was going to come down to Julie Stokes, Kyle Ardoin, but Julie Stokes with only 10% and 1% return right now. Kind of shocked by that one.
Well, we don't know which exact precincts are reporting, so it could just be her home area. So,
or Ardoin's home area, giving him the big bump. We do have, with, again, 1% of the precincts reporting, we have an early look on the constitutional amendments. Constitutional Amendment number 1, prohibiting felon from public office. That's got 77% on yes right now. Again, only 1% reporting. Unanimous jury for non-capital felonies, 62% so far. Surprisingly, that gap is not as wide as we thought it may have been. And then number 3, permit donations from political subdivisions. That's where the state can loan a parish equipment. Right now, 53% yes on that one. Number 4, the Transportation Trust Fund dollars going to the state police. 55% yes on that. And number 5, extend eligibility for tax exemptions. That's for the families of first responders who die in the line of duty. 72% yes on that. And number 6, reappraisal of residential property phasing it in over 4 years. 56% yes on that right now. Again, only 1% of precincts reporting right now. So we are nowhere near any of those being official, but the early run on those, it is 6 for 6 on constitutional amendments. We talked about that in the 5 o'clock hour. Mm-hmm. Not shocked by much of that at all. Looking at some of the parish races, we have a lot of incomplete data coming in right now. 0 precincts reporting in Bossier Parish. We have 0 precincts reporting in Caddo Parish, so we cannot report on any of those races yet as far as the U.S. Representative Congressional District number 4, that's Mike Johnson. We kind of expect that to go a certain way, but we don't have any precincts reporting right now, so we can't report on any of that. Congressional 1st District, though, this is one that nobody was even talking about a chance here. We do have 1 of 8 parishes reporting here, with Steve Scalise with 89%. One of the ones that was kind of hotly contested across the state, though, even though it's the 3rd Congressional District, we don't get a vote here, but a lot of eyes were on Clay Higgins, the Cajun John Wayne. A lot of people remember him from his YouTube fame. He is in a big-time race there. At least that's the way that it was positioned. Looking at the early returns, the absentee balloting is in right now, 66% for him at this point. We do have the 4th Congressional. We do have some precincts reporting, actually. Now looking at it, this may have just been an update, though. Mike Johnson, 65% of the vote right now. 5 precincts reporting. That's about 1%. So we do have a little bit of a return there. No surprises at all in the 5th or 6th Congressional District with Ralph Abraham and Garrett Graves both with over 65% of the vote in those 2 particular races. Anything standing out? Look, you see anything right now, Matt Barker?
No, not at the moment. Nothing shocking, really. Like I said, we're getting 1-2% of precincts reporting, so nothing really to hang our hat on. But it's starting to come in, which is a good sign.
Yes, that is a very good sign. I don't like the trickle. I wish that we got just a big rush of it. But we are looking at other races too, not just nationally, but our neighbors to the west, Texas, a huge Senate race going on right now with incumbent Ted Cruz and upstart challenger Beto O'Rourke. There's about 60% of the ballot in right now, and it's a dead heat. It's like 49.8 to 49.5. We're trying to keep an eye on that one right now. That is, I don't want to say it's shocking because I've seen a lot of the poll trends over the last couple of weeks saying that Beto O'Rourke did have something happening there. There was definitely some ground that he was making up on Ted Cruz, but if you would have told me 6 months ago that Ted Cruz would have been in trouble right now, I don't know that I would have believed you. But again, that's why we have these elections.
Yep. It's anything is possible, at least for a few hours.
We're also looking nationally for a few hours. I like how you try to narrow that down. I have a feeling some of these are going to take a little more than a few hours. If that race stays as tight as it does, if it's 49-49, if it's 51, we're not going to have an answer to that one for weeks. We're also keeping an eye on the Georgia governor's race and the Florida governor's race. Those don't actually affect us in any way, but many people have taken this midterm election and positioned it as a referendum on the president. I don't know that it's any more apparent in any race outside of those two races where President Trump has campaigned and stumped and been out on the trail in both of those states quite a bit. Looking at the Senate and the House, here's how the breakdown has gone so far. And this is information from just before we came on the air, so this may have changed slightly since then. We were looking at the state, the Senate. The Senate control is up for grabs, although it would be very difficult for the Democrats nationally to take that because they would have to hold everything that they have, including hotly contested races in Virginia, North Dakota, and Missouri. They would also have to gain 2 additional swing states there. That's probably hard to do. The House, on the other hand, that one looks like it may be doable for the Democrats. They needed 23 new seats coming into tonight, and as I wrote this information down right before we went on the air, they had already gained 2 of those. Now they only need 21. We're going to try to keep an eye on that. It looks like Senate scenario. This is a scenario, not a projection, so we're not even going to talk about that. We're going to get some more updates here from the Secretary of State's office, but this is complete team coverage. We are not alone here. We have Robert J. Wright out on the street. We got Erin McCarty out there and our friend Dan KEEL. They're all out talking to the candidates in our area, especially with the Shreveport mayor's race. And I believe we have an update coming up in just a second here from Robert J. Wright.
On the streets with the candidates, here's Robert J. Wright on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Couple of seconds here with Shreveport mayoral candidate Jim Talaferro. Last day, what did you tell people? What did you see? What did they tell you?
We didn't really tell people anything today, but what we saw was inspired citizens. At all the voting precincts, we just heard that people are so inspired. They're very excited about this mayoral election, and not only this mayoral election, I guess the election in general. And I think it's got to do. I think it's spinning off of the national. So whatever gets people excited, motivated, and inspired, we're all okay with that.
Do you think this is going to be, do you think it's, as a lot of people say, a late-breaking election? And if that's the case, that's good for a challenger like you, right?
I think the numbers are going to go right down to the wire, as they say, and it's going to be good for us as a challenger because it shows that people are definitely out there. They're definitely voicing their opinion, and they definitely matter. So I think it's going to be good for us, and I think it's really kind of you're hearing the people speak, and I think that that deserves to be a credit.
No matter what happens tonight, what have you learned about the citizens of Shreveport in this campaign?
Yeah, that no matter what walks of life they happen to be traveling, no matter where they live, no matter what they do for a job, is that they all seem to want the same things, and that's good quality of life issues. To be safe and secure in their own home, to have their children grow up, get well educated, just to go to work and, make a decent living, and live in a city that really kind of supports them. So no matter where you are, I think that's what everybody wants.
Thank you so much for your time. Good luck tonight.
All right. Thank you so much. It's good seeing you, Robert.
We'll be back with more election night coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Night coverage, which is brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Barksdale knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take time to get to know you and your business. If you're looking for a business partner to help with merchant services or additional business funding, visit Barksdale Federal, where it's never just about the money. It's about the relationship and helping your business thrive. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal Credit Union, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. We have some updates. We do not have anything conclusive, but we are getting more additional reporting on some of the states' amendments, constitutional amendments that were on the ballot. There were 6 of them, and we have a couple more precincts reporting right now, still in the low single digits as far as percentages, but we've already seen some fluctuation. The majority of them are still right where they were. Number 1, prohibiting a felon from taking public office, still with 77% of the vote on yes. Number 2, unanimous juries for non-capital felonies, 60% at yes. Looking at number 3, permitting donations from political subdivisions. Again, that's state lending to parish, parish lending to parish. That gap has narrowed. That is our closest right now, 53 to 47 on yes. The other one that really narrowed really quick was the Transportation Trust Fund. That's where the dollars from the Transportation Trust Fund were going to the state police for patrols. That gap has narrowed down now, 54 to 46. The other one's still a pretty substantial lead as far as extending eligibility for tax exemptions to widows of active duty police and fire officers. Reappraisal of residential property, that one is also at 57 to 43. Secretary of State's race, I guess I think earlier today when we talked about where we projected these races to be, I thought at least Kyle Ardoin would win the Secretary of State's race. I just didn't think it would be running away the way that it kind of looks right now. Still sitting at 27%, still just a few parishes reporting right now. So lots of time on that one. Nothing going on in the congressional districts that makes anybody... Actually, I guess if there was one that you were going to say that's kind of surprising right now, it would actually be the 4th Congressional District with Mike Johnson. And it's not that Mike Johnson is in any trouble right now. I just didn't think, even with only 1% of precincts reporting, I didn't think that at any point it would be as close as 67 to 30% right now. And that's what we're seeing. I expect that one to be more along the lines of what we're seeing in the 1st Congressional District with Steve Scalise, where he's winning by 78% right now. That's sort of what I expected. So I guess if you were going to consider any of them to be a surprise or a shock in any way, it would be that. We're still keeping our eye on some of these races now, and actually, as we look at some of these projections, looking to our friends in Texas, that Senate race, it actually appears that Beto O'Rourke has started to separate from Ted Cruz a little bit. They're still looking at about 70% overall reporting across the state, and it looks like Beto O'Rourke has now taken about a 1.5% to 2% lead over Ted Cruz. So we'll keep an eye on that one. We're also going to be keeping an eye on the Georgia governor's race, the Florida governor's race, and the other Senate seats in Missouri, Indiana, Tennessee, West Virginia, and the House seats as well. We're keeping an eye on all of that as we await more details on our local races. One of the really interesting ones locally has been fantasy sports on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And I know, Matt Parker, you've laughed at this one a lot, but fantasy sports, including fantasy football, is actually on the ballot in the state of Louisiana. Did you ever think you would see this day in your life?
I did. I didn't expect it to be a parish-by-parish referendum or however they're phrasing it. But.
Well, okay, I mean, this is different from sports gambling. I would expect that we would see sports gambling on a statewide ballot at some point. But this is literally fantasy sports, like the fantasy football that we play in the office for Monopoly money. But I never thought in my life that I would see fantasy football political ads taking place, yet here we are in 2018, and this is happening.
Yeah, randomly I saw DraftKings, I guess they bought advertisements in our area for social media. So it's like, if you love DraftKings, make sure you vote yes for whatever referendum, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that makes sense for them, but it is a parish-by-parish vote, as you pointed out, which means there is the potential for a split as even just as far as the Red River, where you could have Caddo Parish vote yes, Bossier Parish vote no, which would set up a scenario where you could play fantasy sports legally on Texas Street in Shreveport, go over the bridge, go to the boardwalk, and suddenly it would be illegal for you to play fantasy sports there. And as we have talked to a lot of experts at this point, there's not really any clear-cut way of funding the technology that would prevent people in say, Bossier Parish from playing fantasy sports, which means that money could have to come from the parish. And if it was something like Caddo votes yes, Bossier votes no, that would set up a situation where Caddo could potentially be getting revenue from fantasy sports playing, while Bossier Parish was having to create revenue to pay for new technology, which to me would be an incredible... just think about that dynamic. You're a river away, and you could be worlds away when it comes to fantasy sports and the amount of money that you have to pay to either play or pay to keep people from playing.
Well, depending on who you talk to, Caddo and Bossier are different universes.
Worlds away, even though it's just a river. We're also keeping an eye on races like DeSoto Sheriff. That race has been pretty hotly contested, not just as far as getting out the vote, but as far as getting into the courtroom. I don't think mudslinging is necessarily even a good description of what we have seen from that race. That race has been to the point where, like I said earlier this afternoon, when we were talking about this in the 5 o'clock hour, I said this is a race where no matter what happens tonight, by Friday, this could be in court. This could be one that drags out, not because it's a tight race, 50-50, that no matter who wins, even if Jason Richardson beats Gary Hobbs going away with 68% of the vote, this could still end up in court by Friday.
Well, in the most technical sense, it's been in court a couple of times already, and it's just been interesting. If you like political shows like House of Cards and those sort of things, we have that right in our own backyard with the sheriff's race in DeSoto Parish.
Which is kind of amazing when you think about that it's DeSoto. And no disrespect to DeSoto Parish, but you don't expect that kind of thing in DeSoto Parish. So when I say it's kind of amazing, even in a place like DeSoto Parish, that you would find something like that, to me, it's just, it's amazing. We also have Shreveport City Council races, at least the majority of them, up for grabs tonight, so we will be keeping an eye on that. But again, we are kind of in a holding pattern right now as we continue to allow the votes to come in. We are keeping an eye on some of those national races because a lot of the there were states where polling locations closed hours ago, like 3.5 hours ago, polls closed. So we're behind them because, of course, time zones. Mm-hmm. But those races have already, some of them have already been called, and we're already starting to see how this is going to shape up. Taking another look quickly at that Texas Senate race with Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz, 72% reporting right now. That lead that Beto O'Rourke had built, where it was about 51% of the vote, has now shrunk. He has about 50% even. Ted Cruz has about 49.4% of that vote. That's the one that I think will keep a lot of people up. We got some projections now nationally. This is a projection coming in from CNN where it says that Joe Manchin will hold on to his Senate seat in West Virginia. And as we talked about the things that would need to take place for Democrats to hold or to take the Senate and take the House, they would need to hold everything they have, and they would need to pick up 2 additional. So for the Senate, they would need to hold all of those tight races like the West Virginia race with Joe Manchin and flip 2 other up-for-grabs states. With the House, Democrats would need to hold everything they have. They would need to flip 23 going into tonight. I believe that number is down to 21. It may be even lower at this point. So we are paying attention to those national races while trying to keep up with the local races as well. And we're still waiting for these to trickle in. Still, very few precincts are reporting right now as we watch the numbers tumble in. We'll take one more quick update, and I believe we're getting ready. We're going to check in. Erin McCarty is out and about because, again, this is full team coverage. It's not just us here in the studio. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty, our friend Dan KEEL, they're all out and about tonight. So we're going to check in right now with Erin McCarty as she's out on the road.
On the streets with the candidates. Here's Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
I am at the Remington downtown. The crowd is small, but they're flowing in. You can tell by folks that are getting here, they're expecting a big party tonight. They're hoping that Adrian Perkins will come in second, maybe even first, to make the runoff on December 8th against incumbent Mayor Ollie Tyler. Now, the word you hear from most of these folks is momentum. That Perkins has had momentum over the last couple of weeks, and they're hoping that will get him across the finish line into the runoff. He says Shreveport does not have 4 years to wait to get things turned around. He says we need to do it now. Again, lots of waiting. Could be a long night. Many folks are hoping it's not, that it ends quickly, and they know that they've made the runoff. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
We'll be back with more election night coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Does Medicare have you?
We have an update in Fox News' probability meter as far as control of the U.S. House goes. We'll get to that in just one moment. Tonight's election coverage brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. They know that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take the time to get to know you and your business. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. Checking out Fox News' projections right now. They have their 2018 probability meter for control of the Senate and control of the House. With 82% certainty, Fox News is projecting Democrats will take control of the House tonight. At the same time, Fox News is projecting a 68% control of the Senate remaining with the Republicans. That is from Fox News, as they are projecting races all throughout the night. In the Senate, they have called a handful of elections. They have called New Jersey for blue, Minnesota special election for blue, and Indiana has gained for the Republicans one on their side, which now sets 40 seats for the Democrats, 47 for the Republicans, needing 51 for Senate control. In the House right now, there are 218 seats needed for control, and as of right now, it's 80 for the Democrats, 82 for the Republicans, with the Democrats picking up 2 on the night. We have a lot to pay attention to as far as the House goes. Lots of seats up for grabs. We will be paying attention to that all night long. And as we look at the governor's races, the gubernatorial races across the country right now, these are important. Not even if clearly we don't live in Illinois or Michigan, where they have 2 elections that Fox News has already projected in those races. We are not in either of those states, so it doesn't directly affect us, except for the fact that both of those states are potential swing states in the 2020 presidential election. Whoever's the governor has a great chance of influencing how that election goes within those state borders. Remember, we still use the Electoral College in our country to elect a president, meaning that those states and the people who lead them are very important. In Illinois tonight and in Michigan, Democrats have both picked up seats in the governor's mansion. Those have both flipped from red to blue. The incumbent being beat in Illinois, the incumbent not running in Michigan. And in all honesty, looking at the return so far, it is a pretty decent margin in Illinois. 60% to 34% of the vote. In Michigan, it's a little bit tighter, but they only have 31% of the precincts reporting, 51% to 46%, with a lot of other parties picking up small percentages of votes. So as we look across the country tonight, we just had another update on the probability meter from Fox News as far as control of the House goes. Control of the House is now at 84% for the Democrats. So that number has inched up 2 more percentage points. They may have called a race that we were not paying attention to. We will have to jump back to their House races for a second here. They have not called a hot swing race yet, so we will keep paying attention to that. But we'll be paying attention to this national stuff all night as we continue to pay attention to the local races as well. Matt Parker joining us. Have you seen any large changes in any of the constitutional amendments as we pay attention to see some of these trickle in?
Let me refresh it to make sure nothing has changed in the last 5 minutes.
I believe we got a huge dump of precincts. I think we're up now to over 5% of votes coming in.
Let's see here. No, everything's pretty much holding steady. The one that's looks like it's the closest, the 2 actually, are Amendment 3 and 4, which is the permit donations for political subdivisions. That is now 53.8 basically to 46.1 and some change. And the other one is 54.5 to 45.5. So.
And we are now up to 6% of precincts reporting across the state, and there has been a tightening of the gap with the Secretary of State's race. Kyle Ardoin has been leading that race throughout the night, and now Gwen Collins Greenup has inched within 5 percentage points. It is now a 25% to 20% in that race. Kyle Ardoin, somebody who has been the secretary, the interim.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. Interim incumbent Secretary of State, since a scandal led to him being appointed, and then he has had his fair share of scandals over the last few months. So for him to be in that position right now with only a 5% lead, 6% reporting, I'm not surprised. I thought he would win tonight, but I would not be shocked if he ends up falling, especially if it's a close 5% vote, something along those lines.
Well, with, 8 candidates or whatever it happens to be, it's there is a lot more. I think the most shocking thing to me is the amount of votes going to the other guys.
Yeah, how spread out it is right now, because it is a very spread out race. You have 25% to Ardoin, Heather Cloud with 5%, Gwen Collins Green up 20%, A.G. Crow at 3%, Rick Edmonds 9%, Renee Fontenot Free at 15%, Thomas Kennedy III 11%, Julie Stokes at 10%. I honestly thought that Julie Stokes was going to be much more of a player in this race than it seems like she actually is. And maybe that was just me reading the tea leaves a little bit into some of the people that I thought, just based on me hearing from some people what I thought was going to happen, it really isn't playing out. We do have an update, though, locally, as far as fantasy sports go. We have updates in Caddo and Bossier, with 2% of the votes returned right now in Bossier Parish. Again, only 2%. 2% returned right now. 69% yes to authorize fantasy sports in Bossier Parish. If we switch ourselves over to Caddo Parish real quick, we are going to get an update from that, and they took my numbers away. I had some numbers there, and now they... Oh, boy. All right. Well,
I'm still shocked about the Bossier. I know it's, only like 2 precincts at this point, but, the fact that it is up by...
That margin, too.
Yeah.
It's 70%. We do have some numbers for Webster Parish, though, as we check out the fantasy sports voting there. A lot closer. 18% of precincts reporting, 57% yes on authorizing fantasy sports in Webster Parish. So that one a little bit tighter than what we see in Bossier, but more precincts reporting as well.
I think as the precincts pour in, I think we will see that across the state where it's going to be almost a 50-50 split, and a small margin is going to decide yay or nay.
Let's jump over to Claiborne real quick. They have some parishes reporting. 20% of precincts reporting, and it's 52-48 yes on fantasy sports in Claiborne Parish. Very, very interesting how close this is coming. Bienville Parish. Let's jump to Bienville real quick. They've got 18% reporting right now. 60% yes on fantasy sport. Or no, that's not fantasy sports. Sorry. Jumping the gun here. Fantasy sports with 18% of the precincts reporting. 55% yes. So that, to me, very interesting that even with limited returns right now, like less than 10% precincts in some of those areas, we're seeing yeses across the board on fantasy sports. I know you and I just talked about this a few minutes ago. Did not think that it would be that evenly distributed. We thought there were definitely going to be a good number of parishes who said no, but at this point in the Arklatex, looking at some of these early returns, it seems like a lot of yeses on fantasy sports.
It seems like it's going to be a lot closer of a fight, too, than a lot of people anticipated. Because a lot of folks, including myself, thought several of these parishes would just slap it down with no...
Yeah, like the returns we're seeing in some of those where it's 69% yes, we thought that would be flipped, and it would be 69% no. But I think that there may have been an actual an impact from the reports coming out saying, look, if you say no, you're going to have to pay to prevent it. I think that may have swung a couple of those votes. Again, very early, can't say for a fact that one has to do with the other or that any of these races are actually going the way they are, because in some of these precincts we're seeing 11% returned. So still early in the game. Polls have only been closed for 50 minutes. Honestly, in some places, with some of the lines that we heard from today, some people may still be in line ready to vote. Mm-hmm. So we could be here a while on some of these votes, but we are hanging tough and keeping an eye on some of the national stuff as well. Again, though, not just us in the studio. We have full team coverage tonight from KEEL, and we're actually going to throw it to our good friend Robert J. Wright, who is out on the streets right now.
On the streets with the candidates, here's Robert J. Wright on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
At Savage Campaign Headquarters, candidate Leo Savage I said a couple of seconds ago before we started, how was your day today? And you went, you're like, woo! Tell me, what did you do today?
Wow, it was crazy. You know, it was a get up a little bit before 5, got everything ready, took down to the campaign office. We had probably about 15 people meet us there this morning, 6:30. Gathered, we assigned everybody where they were going to go. And we had about 5 corners that we went out throughout the city, did some sign waving, did that from 7 to 9, go back to the campaign office, had to go do some other stuff. Yes, go ahead.
Has all this been fun for you?
Absolutely. It's been a hoot. You know, I mean, can I tell you, when you're standing on the corner, you know, I mean, I'm right there in front of Shaver's, right, on Erie Drive.
Yeah.
You know, and Mr. Shaver comes by, and he's honking his horn. I'm like, oh, my God, he doesn't want me to be out here. So I walked up and said, Mr. Shaver, I said, I just want, you know, is it okay? He said, absolutely. That was me honking. I said, I know, but I was wanting to make sure it was a good honk. But people are like, thumbs up, honking.
Is this
excited.
A late-breaking race? Is this a late-breaking race, and is that good for you?
It's not a late-breaking race.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think it's been this way all along. People really haven't seen it. You know, I really think that, you know, it's been building, and people, you know, we walk neighborhoods, you know, a lot, you know, and it's every Saturday, Sunday, and a lot of times it's after work, you know, about 2 days a week we don't have forums.
Right.
But, you know, we get this all the time. Sometimes initially, I'll say like in maybe June, July, people are like, oh, when is that election? And now it's like, well, who's in it? And then it gets down to, I've got my people picked out, you know, and I'm like, am I that person? Absolutely, or, you know, whatever. But I don't think that what people thought about me initially. I mean, I know I'm the dark horse. I mean, I'm way out there. Nobody knew Leo Savage. Nobody knew anything about me, politics at all. You know, and here I come up, and all of a sudden I'm knocking on the door, and I'm up here playing with the big boys, and we're going to knock them down, you know.
We'll be back with more election night coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
We have some major breaking news as far as the Shreveport mayor's race goes. We'll get to that in just 1 second. Barksdale Federal Credit Union bringing you tonight's election coverage. Barksdale Federal Credit Union knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take time to get to know you and your business, experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal Credit Union, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. We are going to get that breaking news as we throw it right now to Erin McCarty, who is out on the road.
On the streets with the candidates. Here's Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
You can hear the crowd. The first results coming in showing Adrian Perkins with the lead over incumbent Mayor Ollie Tyler. Both of them at 27% in the polls. And 27%, the numbers showing Perkins running neck and neck with Mayor Tyler, but Perkins actually in the lead. Again, these are early returns, but his crowd went wild. It's an exciting night here. Waiting for the candidate to arrive. He's expected to come greet his supporters here in just a couple of minutes. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
All right, as you heard, Erin there, very, very, very early returns. This is very early on, nowhere near being able to even say anything more except for this is the first impact, first rounds. Right now, Adrian Perkins, 26.93%. Mayor Ollie Tyler, 26.56%. It is a very slim lead, but Adrian Perkins does have the lead right now in the mayor's race.
I just, got an update from the Secretary of State like 20 seconds ago. Right now he has 30% with all the absentee reporting in and about 21 precincts in. So he's got 30%. Jim Talaferro's got about 20%. Ollie's got 26%.
Wow. Okay. And then we have what I see in front of mine, which is a little out of date compared to yours. I have Leo Savage and Steven Jackson running about neck and neck, right about 11%.
Yeah. Steven has 11, and Leo sitting right about 10 on mine. And then the rest of them are split in half points here.
Yep. We've got Anna Marie Arpiano, Jerron Rogers, and Tremikius Dixon all with about half a percentage. Again, very, very early as we look at this. This is roughly about 10,000 total votes that have come in right now, just eyeballing it. So we have a long way to go before this is ended. But for the first impact of tonight, for the first Shreveport mayor's numbers to show up on a screen, to be Adrian Perkins in the lead, that to me, I think, and this is very early, and we talked about You had me make a bold prediction in the 5 o'clock hour when we talked. Mm-hmm. And my bold prediction was Ollie Tyler finishes second tonight. And I think what we saw with those first numbers sets the table for that.
Absolutely. I called you crazy when we talked about it earlier.
I don't think you used the word crazy, but, I mean, it was a bold prediction.
Well, I said that was very bold.
It's very bold.
Maybe you're on to something there. I definitely didn't see it swinging that way right out the gate.
You know what, actually, as I'm looking at these very early numbers, though, what interests me is if Jim Talaferro is only a few percentage points behind Ollie Tyler at this point, if he can close that gap, it may actually put Ollie Tyler out of the runoff in December. Again, very, very early, but I called this a race to 20, and for me to see three numbers right now over 20%, this is very interesting. If Adrian Perkins can hold on to a 30% margin at the end of tonight, that will be a higher number than I ever thought we would see with this race tonight. But for the first shot that we got tonight, for the first little update, and I'm going to hit refresh here, and I'm going to see if we can get some new numbers, because these are going to be coming in through the night, and that's why we're here all night long to keep you updated on this. And, of course, I'm going to have to scroll down now to see if I can find it. I did get, apparently this might be the same update you saw, but I'm looking at this update now. Adrian Perkins with a 30% margin. Ollie Tyler in second with 26%. Jim Talaferro, 20%. He's about 6 percentage points behind Ollie Tyler right now. Adrian Perkins about 4 percentage points ahead of Ollie Tyler. And we've got Steven Jackson now coming up, taking fourth place at this point. So we are getting ready to hit the top of the hour. We'll have more election coverage on the way right here on KEEL.
breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport. This is KEEL Election Night coverage. We'll have the winners and the losers and all the numbers on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Welcome back into our election coverage brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Barksdale Federal Credit Union knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take the time to get to know you and your business. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal Credit Union, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. A big shakeup with the Shreveport mayor's race. 41 of 122 precincts are reporting right now. And we heard the audio that Erin McCarty had as she is out on the streets from Adrian Perkins' election party tonight. And it was a roar from the crowd when the initial numbers came through, which, by the way, as of right now, with that 41 of 122 precincts reporting.
I got 46. I just got
You got 46. Okay, you got an update. So what I show is Adrian Perkins with 30% of the vote right now. What do you show?
Basically the same. He's got 30.28, which is almost 8,000 votes so far. Ollie's in second with 27.9 and 7,374 votes.
Okay, who do you have in third place right now? Because that might be the most interesting developing story.
Right now, Jim Talaferro with 17.4.
Okay, so right now what we're seeing is Adrian Perkins coming out to a larger than expected lead right off the bat. Again, we made bold predictions earlier, and my bold prediction was that Ollie Tyler would finish second. That seems to be setting up. Your bold prediction was actually Steven Jackson finishing the night in third. What I see on mine, and I know mine's a little behind yours, between Jim Talaferro and Steven Jackson, I show a pretty narrow gap.
It's about probably about 5% at the moment. But, you know, a lot of the pre-polling and all that stuff had Steven in fifth place at 5 or less %.
Yeah.
And right now he's sitting at 12.3 with 46 precincts in. So,
and we do officially have a completed result from one parish in our area. Red River Parish has 100% reporting, which means we can say yes or no on our first fantasy sports results of the night. And our first fantasy results of the night coming from Red River Parish says fantasy sports are now legal in Red River Parish. 52% of the vote yes, 48% no. That is with 100% reporting in Red River Parish. And this is pretty amazing, too. I mean, this doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but as we look right now at the Secretary of State's race, which we have been talking about a little bit tonight, it's been a very ignored race across the state. Not a lot of money spent by any candidate. But at the end of the night, in Red River Parish, it is a dead tie, 21-21, between Kyle Ardoin and Gwen Collins Greenup. That, to me, is pretty surprising, especially when you look down the list of everything else that took place with the amendments in that parish. The amendments in this parish are actually pretty incredible right now. I think only 3 of the 6 were yes votes. 3 came back with no's. A no on number 3, which is permit donations from political subdivisions, state lending to a parish. Yep. That was voted down. It was also voted down to keep the Transportation Trust Fund money in the Transportation Trust Fund and not with the state police. And then it was also voted no on residential property reappraisals, the 4-year phase-in. That was voted down in Red River Parish. I know, it's a small sample of the state. It's just a few thousand votes, almost 3,000 votes there. Can't really extrapolate an entire state out of that, but I mean, it's a good test case. So some of these that we're looking at statewide, and we do have an update on that, by the way. I think, what are we at now? 44%. We got about 44% of precincts reporting across the state. Is that what you have on your side?
I'm waiting for it to refresh. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people like us right now who are tabulating and doing some work, trying to pull these numbers really quick, and I think it's hurting the system. With 44% reporting across the state, right now the Secretary of State's race, 22% for Kyle Ardoin, Gwen Collins Greenup, 20%. That has narrowed down now to almost a dead heat. As far as the amendments go, Amendment number 1, prohibit felon from holding public office, 75% yes. Number 2, unanimous jury for non-capital felonies, 63% yes. Number 3, permit donations from political subdivisions, that's the borrowing from other parish to parish, 55% yes. Number 4, the Transportation Trust Fund money not going to the state police anymore, 55% yes. Extend eligibility for tax exemptions for widows of those killed in the line of duty, 71% yes. And reappraisal of residential property being phased in over 4 years, 56% yes. It is yes across the state right now with 44% reporting.
And we had a couple of Facebook messages. Hey, can we get an update on the amendments in Caddo and Bossier as well as fantasy sports? As of right now, in both parishes, every single one of them is a yes.
Yeah, I think we got a huge dump right now of information from Caddo Parish, so we can look at Caddo Parish. Here's something interesting out of Caddo Parish. Right now, 30% of precincts reporting 100% of absentee balloting. U.S. Representative, 4th Congressional District. Ryan Trundle, 57%. Mike Johnson, 41%.
I see that.
That's just Caddo Parish, though, okay? That's not the whole thing. If we do scroll down to take a look at where are we at here? I'm trying to find my constitutional amendments. Do you have the constitutional? I got them right here. All right, Caddo Parish constitutional amendments. On number 1, prohibiting felon from public office. Caddo Parish right now with 30% reporting is at 72%. Unanimous jury for non-capital felonies. Caddo Parish is at 73%. Permit donations from political subdivisions. Caddo Parish voted 59%. With 39% of precincts reporting on the Transportation Trust Fund Amendment, that's number 4. Caddo Parish is voting 57%. In Caddo Parish, extending eligibility and tax exemptions for the widows of those killed in the line of duty. Caddo Parish is voting 76%. Number 6, reappraisal of residential property being phased in. With 30% of precincts reporting, Caddo Parish is at 59%. And fantasy sports in Caddo Parish with 30% of precincts reporting, 62% yes.
By the way, while we're talking, Caddo Parish in the city of Shreveport just got another update. Adrian Perkins is almost up to 31%.
Wow.
With 56 precincts reporting.
Wow.
Ollie's down to 28.6. And Jim and Steven are now only separated by a couple of points.
Wow.
Steven's at 13. Jim's at 15.
Wow. Steven Jackson in 3rd place right now. Adrian Perkins, Ollie Tyler, Steven Jackson.
Yeah, Leo has dropped to 9.7.
Wow. Also in Caddo Parish, 38% reporting. I just got an update. The .83 mills renewal for the public parks for 10 years, 65% yes right now on that with 38% reporting. So, this is moving quick now. We spent a little bit of time talking about how slow this was. It was a slow build, a slow burn. Now all of a sudden we're seeing 46% of precincts reporting across the state. We're seeing a lot of precincts reporting across Shreveport and across Caddo Parish and Bossier Parish. We're seeing a lot of these numbers tick up, and we're seeing it happen really fast. I believe ABC News has just made a prediction. ABC News is calling the race, Texas Senate race. ABC News is calling it for incumbent Ted Cruz beating Beto O'Rourke. That has got to be very close. It looks like I don't think any of the other networks are calling it right now, but I think that's ABC News' call. Let me check quick to see if Fox News has made a call in that race. Let's move to the Senate. They have not made a call yet. Fox News has yet to make a call in the Texas Senate race. They are still categorizing it as too close to call, but that one is getting down to the wire. There's still a lot to be reported. According to this, there were only about 76% in for Texas. So we're going to wait to see exactly what happens there. But, 75% in right now, and ABC News has called it for Ted Cruz. That's one that we're really going to have to keep an eye on because it's been 50.6, 48.9, 50.1. Beto O'Rourke had a lead, 51% at one point tonight. So, man, look, back 2 years ago, we were doing this on this exact night during the presidential election, and we thought we were in for a long night that night, and by about 9:30, everything was pretty wrapped up. We kind of knew exactly where things were going. It's about 9:14 right now, and we are still we have a couple of ideas. Look, We'll go back to Fox News' 2018 probability meter. Oh, wow. Okay. They just made a huge call with Fox News. This is just breaking. Fox News' election 2018 probability meter has moved control of the House now to greater than 95% that Democrats will take control of the House. This is reporting from Fox News right now. Their probability meter, over 95% chance that Democrats take control of the House. It is an 80% chance that the Republicans will retain control of the Senate. Getting a little bit of breaking news going on right now nationally, and we're also seeing something from Erin McCarty, who is out on the street right now. She's letting us know that Adrian Perkins will be joining Robert and Erin tomorrow morning at 8:10. So no matter how this breaks for the rest of the night, we will find out tomorrow morning where Adrian Perkins is and what his thoughts are, because right now I just pulled up another update on these. Are you looking at the same update that I just looked at?
Yeah, I just got mine 2 seconds ago.
Okay, so we're looking at the same update right now on the Shreveport mayor's race. We're actually going to check in. I think we have Mike Johnson's campaign headquarters. We'll check in with that in just a second. Right before that, though, this is the most up-to-date number that we have, and the gap has just closed. 46% of precincts reporting right now. The lead is 30% for Adrian Perkins, now only 1 percentage point ahead of Ollie Tyler at 29%. Third place right now, back into third place, Jim Talaferro with 16%. Stephen Jackson has 13%, and Leo Savage has 10% of the vote right now, and about 1% each for Anna Marie Arpino, Tremekius Dixon, and Jerron Rogers. We'll be back with more continuing coverage. Right now, we are going to check in with Robert J. Wright.
On the streets with the candidates, here's Robert J. Wright on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
We have to remember to talk loud because the crowd is awesome. A couple of seconds with soon to be. Am I going out on a limb? Re-elected United States Congressman Mike Johnson. Early results, and they're early, but 65%. That's not too bad, huh? What are you thinking?
Well, not too bad. We worked really hard for this. We've served this district with all of our heart, and just as we promised we would do in 2016. 15 parishes in Louisiana's 4th District. We've traveled every square inch of it. 42 town halls. We tried to be accessible. I think that people will reward us for that.
Well, you took a couple of seconds for me. How much more accessible can a man be? Let's switch from your district here in Louisiana and talk national politics for a second. The importance in both our minds of the Republicans holding the House, but you're behind the curtain, what do you see, what do you hear?
I really believe, I've been saying for a year consistently, that we would hold a majority. It'd be a slim majority. I think we'll have a 5 to 7 seat majority. I still think that's possible tonight as we're watching returns come in as we speak. I hope that's true, because if Nancy Pelosi and her team take over again, they're going to mire the country in chaos, clearly, for about 2 years, and that's not going to serve the country well.
And our GOP could pick up a couple of seats in the House, it looks, in the Senate, rather?
It does. It looks like we'll have some gains in the Senate, and that's going to be a good thing. If we can keep the majorities in both houses, we'll keep this momentum moving. The economy's picking up, jobs for everyone, record low unemployment. You know all the statistics. I hope that people vote their pocketbooks today at the end of the day, and national security, and all the other things that we've, judges on the courts, all these things the president talked about on the campaign trail, and all of us, we're actually doing those things. I hope the voters reward that.
Well, as far as the Johnson campaign and the Johnson representation, congratulations, my friend. Good luck, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you, always.
We'll be back with more election night coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Barksdale Federal Credit
We have one local race with a 100% return and a winner. We will get to that in just a moment. Tonight's election coverage is brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Barksdale Federal Credit Union knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take time to get to know you and your business. If you're looking for a business partner to help with merchant services or additional business funding, visit Barksdale Federal, where it's never just about the money, it's about the relationship and helping your business thrive. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. We do have a 100% precinct reporting. We have a new council person, a new representative in District B with 100% of the votes in, winning with 45% of the vote. Lavette Fuller is now your council person for District B in the city of Shreveport. All of the other districts have yet to get 100% in. We have a couple of tight races we are watching with about 75 to 76% in right now. We will keep you up to date on those. Many of the local eyes have been all on that Shreveport mayor's race, and we have seen some very interesting results so far coming right out of the gate. We had another update as we were getting things together there. We have a 53% return right now in the precincts. And with 53% reporting, Adrian Perkins has a 30% margin, or he has 30% of the vote, not a 30% margin. We would be wrapped up and done for the night if that was the case. He's got 30% of the vote. Mayor Ollie Tyler, 28%, making a late charge over those last precincts reporting in. Jim Talaferro is back up into third place. Stephen Jackson is at fourth. Leo Savage in fifth. And we have three other candidates who are polling at 1% or below right now. No big changes since the last time we looked at this, but you're talking to a couple of people who are out on the street right now. I think you just got off the phone with Robert J. Wright. What's the vibe out on the street?
Oh, Robert was out at Mike Johnson's, obviously. He was just getting ready to figure out where he was going to go next. A lot of people are sort of shocked of the way things have shaken out so far in the mayor's race. I don't think anyone's thought Adrian – well, not anyone, but I don't think a lot of people saw Adrian out the gate so strong. And you know, with the, 53% reporting, he's still holding off the incumbent.
Yeah, and that is actually pretty impressive right now. I did have that bold prediction earlier that would happen. Now, we are getting pretty close in DeSoto Parish, one of the races we told you we are going to be watching for the majority of the night. And I said that we weren't going to do this. I said we weren't going to call anything prior to 100% of the precincts reporting. But I think it's pretty safe to call this one. Right now, with 97% of the precincts reporting in DeSoto Parish, Jason Richardson, 62% of the vote to 38% for Gary Hobbs. There's 3% of precincts remaining. Unless those are three ginormous precincts that are going to bring in thousands, it looks like Jason Richardson is going to be the sheriff of DeSoto Parish.
Yeah, we talked about that a little earlier. Jason's pretty popular up that way. He worked for the previous sheriff, Rodney Arbuckle, so I'm not really shocked by the outcome. I'm just shocked that we haven't heard fireworks because of where of the situation it is.
Now, yeah, there's been a lot of swirl, a lot of courtroom drama around that one. You likened it to House of Cards earlier, which I think is probably if you're running for an office anywhere, I don't think you want to be likened to House of Cards. As I'm looking at the DeSoto Parish numbers, though, this is kind of interesting. We've been slowly following the Secretary of State's race, even though it's been one of the most ignored across the state. It's probably the most ignored statewide race I think I've ever seen. And in DeSoto Parish, interestingly enough, with 97% of precincts reporting, your winner in DeSoto Parish, and again, just a parish, not the whole state, Gwen Collins Green up 21% to Kyle Ardoin's 20%.
Just overall in the state, Ardoin is holding a lead, but a very slim one. It's basically 22-20.
Wow.
So he's got a 2% lead with 2550 of 3910 precincts. So
not exactly how I saw that breaking when we talked about that one earlier this afternoon. If we switch over to look at Bossier Parish, I know we've been kind of paying attention to the fantasy sports throughout the night. 43% of precincts reporting in Bossier Parish, and right now, yes to fantasy sports is still holding pretty strong, 61% to 39%. And if we shift back towards Caddo Parish, which I think we may have just got another dump of numbers from Caddo Parish, Let's jump straight into fantasy sports there and see where we are sitting. With 45% of precincts reporting right now in Caddo Parish, it's 63% yes on fantasy sports. So that scenario in which we described where one side of the river votes yes and the other side votes no, it would appear at this point like we're going to see yes on both sides of the river.
And another thing that we thought would be a lot closer that is sort of a runaway at the moment is all the constitutional amendments. Pretty much everything's yes, and most of them are like 70%.
Yeah, I do believe that there was kind of an idea that could happen, mostly because you had bipartisan support for them. You do have a couple of close ones right now, 65% reporting. Let's just run through them right now. 65% reporting. On Amendment 1, prohibiting felons from holding public office, 75% yes. On Amendment 2, unanimous jury verdicts in non-capital felonies, 63% yes. Amendment 3, permitting donations from political subdivisions, 55% yes. Amendment 4, transportation trust fund dollars staying for roads and not for state police, 55% yes. Amendment 5, extending eligibility for tax exemptions to the widows of those killed in the line of duty, 71% yes. And Amendment 6, reappraisal of residential property being phased in over 4 years, 56% yes. So, over half the votes in right now, yeses across the board, little bit narrow margins in some, pretty wide margins in others. I don't know if we're really seeing any shock there, but it is interesting to see how those are laying out.
It definitely is, and once we get some more precincts in, I'm gonna wonder. I'm gonna be curious if that's gonna change or if things are gonna hold steady throughout the rest of the evening.
And we've got looking just at the congressional races across the state. Nothing really shocking in any of these. Maybe the most shocking thing is with 77% of the precincts reporting in the 3rd congressional district. Clay Higgins, who they talked about that being a very tight race, but it doesn't look like it at all. He's got 55%. He's got the lowest margin, though. All the other congressional districts, you've got Steve Scalise with 71%, Cedric Richmond with 79%, Mike Johnson 62% right now, Ralph Abraham 66%, Garrett Graves 71%, and those are all with at least 44% of precincts reporting. So those ones are pretty well in hand. That Secretary of State's race, it is still a coin flip. It seems like Gwen Collins Greenup continues to close the gap between her and Kyle Ardoin. 65% reporting right now. It is 22 to 20%. That has been an interesting race to keep our eyes on. And as we look back at those parish races, I'm going to check to see right now. I do not have any updates in any of the local races at this point. So we are kind of in a holding pattern. I do have one update, though. I do have an update on the national level.
Ooh.
Fox News and their probability meter has made a couple of calls as far as the Senate and the control of the House goes. As far as the Senate goes, in the calls that Fox News has made, Republicans have picked up 2 Senate seats, and that has almost solidified that they will retain control of the Senate. Their probability meter projects over 95% likelihood that Republicans will maintain control of the Senate. Their projections show right now that the Democrats have picked up 13 seats in the House. The Republicans have picked up none. So their probability meter right now says it is greater than 95% that Democrats will control the House by the end of the night. That is coming from Fox News. I guess we could check some of their... Okay, so their hotly contested races seem to be coming in 2 in Florida and 1 in Illinois on the House side for Democrats. And their hotly contested races on the Senate side, it would appear that North Dakota has switched. North Dakota has flipped to red. Heidi Heitkamp loses in North Dakota. In New Jersey, Bob Mendez holds on to his seat. It remains blue. Minnesota special election, Smith wins. And in Indiana, Braun wins to flip Indiana for the red team. So that will give us right now 2 extra seats for the Republicans, 0 gains for the Democrats. It is still actually kind of early, and there are still some big races to call. That's what Fox News has at this very moment, though. Matt Parker, have you seen any updates statewide yet?
I have not. It looks like so far pretty much is everything is staying the same as we talked about earlier. Nothing drastically changed statewide. Nothing really drastically changing locally. But we're keeping an eye on it. And as soon as we get some more precincts in, we'll let the people know.
All right, if you are just joining our coverage, tonight's election coverage is brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Barksdale knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take time to get to know you and your business. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life with Barksdale Federal Credit Union, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. If you are just joining us and you're looking for the results in the Shreveport mayor's race, at this point we do not have a final. Oh, but we just had a huge dump as I was reading that copy. Here is where we stand right now with 70% of precincts reporting. Actually, you want to take a break and then drop this information, drop this big update on the other side?
Before we get to the update, before we get there, would you like to play a piece from these mayoral candidates before we let the people know how they're performing?
I like it. I like that a lot. So we have had all of the five major. We've had all the mayoral candidates on KEEL
multiple times,
and we did the first mayoral forum of the year right here in this studio. And it was maybe the best because it was before the bullet points were formed, before they really knew what their message was going to be. This was the most raw reactions we got. So we're going to play you a little bit of the five major Shreveport mayoral candidates and their views on crime from earlier this year.
Shreveport's five leading mayoral candidates give their views on crime. Adrian Perkins.
That's the reason why at the beginning I harped on new leadership in that police department. And it's nothing personal to the current police chief. You know, I hear that he's a good person from other police officers, from members of his congregation at his church. It's about bringing the competencies and the time to the job. The competencies as far as operations, for instance. Right now, our peak crime hours is around 10 o'clock at night in Shreveport. So why aren't the bulk of our officers patrolling our streets during those times? If you have the operational background for that, then a police chief will recognize that. And I'm sure those are the type of gripes and complaints that the officers working the streets notice. And those are the ones bringing it up. So I have to side with our officers in that. We got to increase the police presence in our neighborhoods where it's needed most.
Stephen Jackson.
I think that we have to have a district level approach to crime fighting. We cannot sit back. I've said for the last 3 years that we cannot sit back and pretend that crime is down. The numbers, we can make the numbers say what they want to say. That's just some way to go out and tell citizens that, hey, your home got broken in this morning, but it's okay, 200,000 other folks didn't. We have to hold people accountable. I have advocated and tried to put in place a system that will actually hold individuals accountable with the crime cameras and the shot spotter technology. We have to come into the 21st century with regard to our technology and how we actually deal with policing. I believe we can do a build out at some of our SPAR centers to increase the presence in our police districts and make sure that our response times are quicker. And so I think citizens will feel a little bit more confident. People have no faith that people will show up on time. And so we have to be serious about our response time and making sure that our officers are responding and making sure that our leadership is held accountable.
Leo Savage.
I talk to people all the time, and every time they say something, they're like, oh, I'm leaving Shreveport, I'm moving to Bossier. I said, why? They said, well, simply because, you know, Shreveport police, everybody gets by with things. Over in Bossier, they don't play. I want to make sure you look at it, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. And I want to make sure we have a leader who allows our police officers to be tough. I want that reputation here. I don't want to be on national television with anything bad, but I do want our police officers to do what they do, what they signed up to do, and that is to uphold justice. They are there to protect and serve, and that's what I expect them to do, and that's what I expect our police chief to allow them to do. To answer your question specifically, absolutely. I think that the gloves need to come off. We need to get tough on crime.
Ollie Tyler.
We all are concerned about crime. Crime is up and down in every urban major city in America, not just Shreveport. And crime has really spiked in the last year and a half, but it has spiked across the country. But let me tell you, we have plans in place. We collaborate, we team, we have task forces, not only in Shreveport, with the national FBI, with the U.S. Marshal's Office, with the Sheriff Department. We have put together a strategic plan, and we're working that plan. Now, people are willing to look at the numbers when they're up, but they're not willing to look at the numbers when they start going down. crime spikes up and down. It's most of it is domestic related, but we have to come together as a community, and we can solve those crimes. And I can tell you that 1 million people come in here every year and enjoy Shreveport. It's a great place to be, and they're not afraid.
Jim Talaferro.
Yeah, of all the candidates, I'm the only law enforcement candidate with over 30 years law enforcement experience. You know, one of the things that I do know is the functionality and the dysfunctionality of the police department. There are many things that need to be done. We need to actually place good leadership in the police department. You know, a leader's responsibility is to train other leaders. This is what police officers are looking for: someone that is the tip of the spear that they can follow, someone that sets the course, charts the course, and sets the sail, and then points the ship in the right direction. You know, we need to give them competitive salaries. You know, we are far below the national average as far as our population is concerned. These are morale builders. These are morale losers. So what we need to focus on is, you know, let's do something for our officers. Let's give them a great fleet. Let's give them even a new building. This should be in a 5-year plan at least. But let's treat them like they need to be treated, you know, like they serve and protect out there, and we'll do fine.
Coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Shreveport mayor's race, we now have 89% of precincts reporting. Before we get you the latest numbers, we're going to check in at one of the candidates' parties. We have Erin McCarty, who is out on the road.
On the streets with the candidates. Here's Erin McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
This crowd anxiously awaiting their candidate, Adrian Perkins. Every now and then they'll see an update of the results and they'll start shouting, AP, AP, because all the numbers right now show him leading in the mayor's race, leading by about 1,000 votes or so over incumbent mayor Ollie Tyler. He's expected to come down in just a few minutes where he's going to address the crowd, talk to them about his plan for the city and his plan for the next month in the runoff. Again, it's a wild, loud party with music, fun. Folks are very happy and excited here and looking forward to seeing him. I'm Erin McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
All right, we are back with your KEEL election coverage brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. And we have an update. With 89% of precincts reporting in the Shreveport mayor's race, Adrian Perkins maintains his lead. He is at 29%. In second place right now, Ollie Tyler at 25%. Third place right now, Jim Talaferro with 19%.
Ooh.
Stephen Jackson and Leo Savage both about even between 12 and 13% right now.
Could you imagine a scenario where possibly, just maybe, is Jim Talaferro and Adrian Perkins in the runoff?
You know what? At this point, 89% reporting, it looks like he is within striking distance of Ollie Tyler. Now, we don't have we're not Fox News, we're not CBS, we're not ABC. We don't get to see like this precinct is here and historically it's voted this way. So we don't have a lot of that information to be able to say here's a hotbed of Ollie Tyler votes that we're waiting on right now. As soon as those come through, we'll be able to say what happens there. But we do have another election right now that we are able to declare a winner in with 100% of the voting. DeSoto Parish Sheriff Jason Richardson, 62% of the vote. Gary Hobbs, 38%. Jason Richardson, your sheriff in DeSoto Parish with 100% of the votes coming in. Again, not a statistical surprise there, but it has been a race that you yourself, Matt, had referred to as House of Cards-like.
It was definitely intense.
And it could be one that we see. I mean, that's a wide gap. That's not a 50-50 split. That's not one that you would normally see move to the courts. But there has been rumors that no matter who won, there could be some legal battling on the backside of that. But at this point right now, Sheriff Jason Richardson, DeSoto Parish Sheriff with 100% of the votes returned.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch over and see if we got a dump right now of votes from Bossier real quick. Jumping into Bossier Parish, really the only thing that we're looking very hard over there at is the fantasy sports right now, with 93% of precincts reporting. 59% yes on fantasy sports in Bossier Parish.
Wow, still holding on with a pretty wide lead, which I didn't see coming.
The other thing that we noticed while we were looking at these numbers, too, we forget often that part of Shreveport is in Bossier Parish.
Mm-hmm.
So there are votes for Shreveport's mayor that are taking place in Bossier. Granted, it's 262 total votes, but as we were looking at those numbers, you had pointed out some interesting facts about those. If it were just up to the 5 precincts in Bossier Parish that vote for the city of Shreveport's mayor, your mayor would be Jim Talaferro, winning with 27%, Adrian Perkins with 24%, third place of the Bossier Parish voters for city of Shreveport's mayor, 18%, third place Stephen Jackson, Leo Savage in fourth place with 16%, and in fifth place, 12% of the vote, incumbent mayor Shreveport Ollie Tyler.
Yeah, it doesn't mean a whole lot because it's like we're literally talking 40, 50 votes.
Yeah, Jim Talaferro got 71 votes.
Yeah, it's just sort of interesting, though, how things are a wee bit different than the main city of Shreveport.
I don't even want to say like a wee bit different because, I mean, we literally are talking about thousands of votes versus a couple dozen votes, but it's just interesting to see what that looks like.
Hey, those votes still count, brother.
And we do have a couple other things. As we reported earlier, we do have one of the Shreveport City Council races that has already been decided. District B, Lavette Fuller, with 100% of the return. She has won that race in District B. We also have some fantasy sports voting from parishes around our area, including Claiborne and Red River Parish, who have both voted yes to fantasy sports. And Sabine Parish, our first no vote with 100% of the results in right now. So Sabine Parish, you will not be able to play fantasy sports. And you know what? We just got some huge numbers across the state that have just reported in. Lots of parishes who have just wrapped up their voting with 100% of the votes in. Now we can now declare that in Webster Parish by a narrow margin, fantasy sports are now legal in Webster Parish, 51% to 49%.
By the way, before you get too far, I just got an anonymous text from the KEEL text line, the Shreveport Security System text line, from someone who happens to be at I don't want to call it Mayor Ollie Tyler's party, because apparently there's a lot of dejection and depression.
Is that what the text said?
That is a direct quote. A lot of people, whereas you heard there at Adrian's and even from Steven Jackson's, a lot of people celebrating and having a good time. It feels like the air has been let out of the room, was a direct quote.
Wow. And we actually, it looks like we had another dump now. Were we at 89% before? Is that the number that we were at? Okay, so it's not one there. We did get some new numbers in. Maybe it was in Bossier Parish. Let me jump back to Bossier real quick. Yeah, it looks like we got up to 93%, 100% in some spots. 93% of the vote is now in Bossier Parish, 76 of 82 precincts. And yes to fantasy sports is still holding strong, 59% of the vote on yes. That, to me, we started the 5 o'clock hour talking about some of this stuff. We considered a scenario where Caddo votes yes, Bossier votes no. At this point, we're nearing 100%.
I am shocked by that outcome. I'm not going to say I'm not pleased by the direction we're heading there, because, well, you know, I'd like to be. I always support the freedom of choice, but you know, I kind of expected it not to go that way.
Let's see. We've got Lincoln Parish reports 100% of voting in, so I can tell you on fantasy sports in Lincoln Parish.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lincoln Parish will now allow fantasy sports. It looks like at this point we've gone through a handful of parishes now, and it seems that the only one. Oh, I got 100% in DeSoto. Did we?
I think you started this little conversation off with that.
And DeSoto is a yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it does appear that the only parish that we have reporting right now that is 100% in our area that said no appears to be Sabine Parish. We have Webster, yes. Claiborne, yes. Lincoln Parish, we just found out, was a yes. DeSoto is a yes. Red River is a yes. Jackson Parish, kind of towards the Arklatex. We can check in with them, and it appears that they are no on fantasy sports. No on fantasy sports in Jackson Parish. So there are 2 parishes that are going to be no votes there.
Fascinating.
Yeah, this is such an odd race. Let's take a look back at the national. I think most of the national stuff is pretty solidified at this point. As far as Fox News goes, their probability meter right now is greater than 95% on both their Senate projections and their House projections. They project with more than 95% certainty that control of the U.S. Senate will be in the red corner with the Republicans. On the House side, greater than 95% sure it will be on the blue side and will be Democrat control in the House. Looking at their projections at this point, it shows that in the House, Democrats have picked up an additional 13 seats. Republicans have not picked up any. On the Senate side, they project that the Republicans have picked up 2 and the Democrats have picked up none. So I guess their projections on their certainty meter or probability meter, seems to be pretty accurate right now based on their projections. They are looking at some of the governor's races right now. Wow, I did not see this. But is this? I wonder if they're the only ones calling this. Kansas's governor will be a Democrat. The state of Kansas has elected a Democrat as governor. That I've got that reported from Fox News. I don't know if we're.
Well, you know what? Why don't we take a little break, check up on some of this information. We'll come back before the top of the hour with a quick rundown on the mayor's race and some of the national happenings.
That's a good call on your part. So we will be back with more election coverage right here on KEEL.
We'll be back with more election night coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Tonight's election coverage is brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. As we approach the 10 o'clock hour, we have more movement in the Shreveport mayor's race. Actually, at this point, I have 100% of districts reporting. I have 100% in.
Wow.
That means with 100% certainty, we can say that the winner in the initial primary with 29% of the vote, Adrian Perkins. Adrian Perkins and Ollie Tyler in second place with 24% and 20% for Jim Talaferro, getting second place by only 24%. Your runoff in December will be Adrian Perkins versus Ollie Tyler. That's with 100% of precincts reporting right now.
Wow.
That
we had what was it, John Settle on our on Robert and Erin. When was it, last week? Yeah, it was Halloween, October 31st, and Settle made a prediction that Adrian was going to finish first, and everybody just kind of went, "That's not what the numbers show." But
no, I don't know how many times I have to go over the numbers in the 5 o'clock hour and say, look, the trends say one thing, the trends say this. I don't trust a singular data point, but I will trust the trends. The trends pointed in a direction. That direction is where we, I believe, have arrived at now. I do have to clear something up that I said earlier. Our friend Dan Keel pointed out that all of the other council races will operate the same as the runoff with the mayor's race. I declared Levette Fuller to be the winner in District B. She is not the outright winner. She got 45% of the vote, but it is a multi-person race. She did not hit that 50% threshold, so she will be in a runoff. It looks like Wendy Vance will run off in District B with Levette Fuller. So we have a couple other ones that we will clear up after the 10 o'clock hour, but at this point, 100% of the precincts reporting in the biggest race of the night, that Shreveport mayor's race. Your winner up front, Adrian Perkins, with 29% of the vote. I just got done saying that I read the trends, and I said the trends pointed in this direction. I will say right now and own up to it that I got one thing wrong. One thing that I have said for the entirety of this race for the last 3 weeks. What I said was that this was a race to 20%. I believed that 2 candidates would get 20%, and that would be it. There were 3 candidates tonight that got 20%. 2 of them will move on. Jim Talaferro with 20% will not.
Yeah, at some points it looked like he was going to be able to pass Ollie, but I guess once everything was done, he came up a little bit short. But I'd say that was a pretty good showing for Jim.
Yeah, Leo Savage with 14% and Steven Jackson with 11% of the vote. So that, and you know what? Maybe this is the unofficial turnout number, but this is something that we kind of talked about before too. How many people were going to get out to vote today? What the percentage was? I think Ernie Roberson said it could be around 50%. He seemed to be pretty right. The guy's been doing it a little while. He knows what he's talking about. 48.2% is the unofficial voter turnout in Shreveport for the mayor's race today. So there you go. Adrian Perkins, 29%. Ollie Tyler, 24%. We are headed to a December runoff, and it's not exactly the runoff that I think a lot of people were looking for.
Well, it's definitely not the one Ollie was looking for, because according to a lot of the poll research we got back, the one person that looked like they could take down Ollie was Adrian.
Yeah, we'll have more coverage on this as we hit 10 o'clock. Your continuing coverage of election night goes on with KEEL.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport. This is KEEL Election Night coverage. We'll have the winners and the losers and all the numbers on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
KEEL's live election coverage brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Barksdale knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take the time to get to know you and your business. If you're looking for a business partner to help you with merchant services or additional business funding, visit Barksdale Federal, where it's never just about the money, it's about the relationship and helping your business thrive. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal Credit Union, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. Big news with the Shreveport mayor's race with 100% reporting. Adrian Perkins is your winner, technically. He wins a chance to run off with incumbent Mayor Ollie Tyler in December. Adrian Perkins just delivered some remarks at his campaign headquarters, and we are going to check that out right now.
Right now, male, female, black, white, Democrat, Republican. All come together.
Yes.
As parents, grandparents, stand shoulder to shoulder with millennials, galvanized by the moment.
Yes.
Yes. Eager to restore the prospects of our hometown.
Yes.
United by a shared vision, we knocked on doors, we volunteered time, we donated, but most importantly, we cast our votes.
Yes.
Together, we will make our streets safer.
Oh, yeah.
Our neighborhoods stronger.
Yes.
And our cities smarter.
Yes. That's it. That's
Shreveport
right.
is full of opportunity, and with the right leadership, we can be a place where dreams are realized and not forsaken.
Oh, yes.
Although today we have invested in leadership for our future, that future is not yet secure. The road to change is long and challenging. Every mile is earned. And aside from the incumbent, 6 other candidates ran for mayor because they all loved Shreveport and believed it needed a change.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to thank each of them for their tireless efforts in this race.
Yes.
If tonight I was not your first choice, most of you still cast your vote for change.
Yeah.
And that opportunity is still alive.
Yes, sir. Yes.
We have to continue to work. We have to redouble our efforts. We have to reach out to the undecided. We have to reach across the aisle. We have to walk across the street and speak to our neighbors. We have to share our vision. We have to let them know that our hope for Shreveport to have brighter days.
Yes.
We have to put our community first. Again, our work is not complete. And as a former runner, I can assure you, the last mile is always the hardest.
Yes. Yes.
At this point, it's all hands on deck. We can bring about change. We can renew Shreveport's promise. But it will take teamwork.
Yes.
Divided, we will fail. That's right. United, we can achieve and overcome.
Yes.
And that's why we're here.
Yes. Yes.
Together as a family, as a community of thoughtful and concerned citizens, we can change the city. We can make our homes safer, smarter, and stronger. We can secure Shreveport's future. Thank you all for tonight.
This is and the chance of AP. This is KEEL's continuing election coverage for tonight. Greg Adams here with Matt Parker. We are going to take you up to 10:30 tonight. 10:30 is when we will turn it back over to regular programming, as many of our local races have pretty much wrapped up for the night. As you just heard Adrian Perkins deliver his remarks, that is Adrian Perkins after he finishes in first place tonight for the runoff or to get to the runoff for Shreveport's mayor's race. 29% of the vote. He will face Ollie Tyler in December. She got 24% of the vote. That's with 100% of the precincts reporting. We've got a couple other races and a couple other things to keep you up to date on before we go for tonight. We are still watching that one statewide election. 93% of precincts reporting, and it is a tight race for the Secretary of State race. Kyle Ardoin, 21% of the vote. Gwen Collins Green up 20% of the vote. So we'll see how that one ends up for tonight. We're looking at those state amendments, too. And at this point, with over 90% of precincts reporting, 93% across the state, it is a pretty good margin on yes votes on all 6 constitutional amendments. The closest that any of them are at right now, we have Amendment 3 and 4 are both 56 to 44. That is the closest margin. The rest of them are pretty much running away. 75% yes, 64%, 71%. So a lot of yeses across the state on the constitutional amendments. You have something break over there?
Well, I just got a piece from Erin McCarty that we'll play here in a little bit of her spending some little one-on-one time with the winner, quote-unquote, of the mayor's race, Adrian Perkins, and he'll be, I guess, joined by Jerry Bowman.
And tomorrow morning, by the way, Adrian Perkins will join Robert and Erin at 8:10.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow morning, Adrian Perkins will be on to talk about tonight's. If you would, I guess it's a victory. It is a victory, even though he does not outright get to win. By all accounts, beating an incumbent mayor in a 7 or 8 way primary
out of nowhere.
Relative obscurity. Last year when we started talking about it, when we were talking about the sports arena, and people were saying that the sports arena was going to be the albatross around Mayor Ollie Tyler's neck come election time, nobody knew the name Adrian Perkins. It wasn't on the radar. People were talking about a lot of other names. So you're right. From relative obscurity to finishing first tonight, that's pretty impressive. Let's run down a couple things before we throw it to Erin McCarty and Adrian Perkins. If we look at fantasy sports, which was a hot-button issue for a lot of people, the majority of the Arklatex parishes have all voted yes. Caddo, yes. Bossier, yes. Claiborne, Red River, Webster, all yes. DeSoto Parish, also a yes. Sabine Parish was a no. There were a couple other no's dotting the landscape, but the majority have said yes. DeSoto Parish Sheriff Jason Richardson wins by a wide margin over his challenger. We do have a couple of interesting things going on with the council races in Shreveport. I did make a mistake earlier. There will be some runoffs there. So I did declare a winner with 100% in. I'm not declaring winners, but I see 100% in, and I just see somebody with a wide margin, and I go, oh, they won. But no, it's going to be a runoff. There is one that is an outright winner, though, because it was a one-on-one in one of the districts in Shreveport. And let me pull that up right now because it was District F. The reason that I point this out, that is Stephanie Lynch's district.
Oh, boy.
And Stephanie Lynch has lost tonight, 53-47 to James E. Green. James E. Green, it appears now, your council representative for District F in the city of Shreveport. As long as I'm reading that correct, because I've already messed that up once tonight, so...
I believe that is correct. One of the other kind of shockers, I can't remember which district it was in, but Vera Clark got into the runoff with... God, what district was it?
Let me see where that was. I'm looking for that one. I'm not
Versa
seeing...
Clark, sorry. It was Councilman District D.
Right, yes.
It is Versa and Grayson Butcher.
Which is very interesting because Versa Clark wins by less than 50 votes over Joey Hester for the second spot, both 23%. I don't know what the recount triggers are in the city of Shreveport as far as district races goes, but I mean, if you're looking on paper right now of less than 50 votes, that may be the threshold to do a recount in that. Before we wrap up the rest of this, we do have that audio of Erin McCarty and Adrian Perkins.
Let's go to a commercial first.
All right, let's do that, and then we will hear from Adrian Perkins here tonight on his, I would say, historic night in the city of Shreveport. We will get to that next. This is continuing live coverage of Election Night 2018 on KEEL.
Welcome back to KEEL's Election Night coverage on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Here's Greg Adams.
Barksdale Federal Credit Union knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Our business lenders take the time to get to know you and your business. If you're looking for a business partner to help with merchant services or additional business funding, visit Barksdale Federal, where it's never just about the money. It's about the relationship and helping your business thrive.
Welcome back to KEEL's election night coverage on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Here's Greg Adams.
Tonight's election coverage brought to you by Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Barksdale knows that when it comes to your business, it's not just about the money. Their business lenders take time to get to know you and your business. Experience what it's like to have a financial partner for life. Barksdale Federal, the 2018 Forbes Best In-State Credit Union. We have some audio from Adrian Perkins' camp that we will get to in just a minute. If you're joining us late to the party looking to find out what's going on in the Shreveport mayor's race, seems to be the talk of the area tonight. Adrian Perkins, relative newcomer to the political scene, has the lead with 100%. 29% of the vote with 100% of precincts reporting. He and Ollie Tyler will face off in a December runoff. We have that audio from Erin McCarty, who was at Adrian Perkins' party. We have her, I believe, right now.
On the streets with the candidates. Here's Erin McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Council Chairman Jerry Bowman, you endorsed Adrian Perkins in this mayor's race. Kind of stepping outside the box against an incumbent. What was your big reasoning?
A lot of people are looking for change, and I think that Adrian had the change that people are looking for. And he came to me and asked me for support a long time ago. He thought that I'd be a threat if I was to run, and I told him there's no way that I was running, but I appreciate that, and I would support him 100%.
What do you anticipate seeing? It looks like he's leading. Do you anticipate Mayor Tyler staying in the race? You think she may back out?
I think she would stay in the race because that's the type of person that she is, so I do believe that she would stay in, but Adrian will win, and Adrian will be our next mayor.
What kind of mayor? What kind of future for our city?
I know that Adrian has some of the views that I have, and I do believe that a smart city is number one on his priority list, but we will be a smarter, a safer, and just the best city that we can be.
Council Chairman Jerry Bowman, thanks for your time. Erin McCarty, I'm with the Adrian Perkins camp, downtown Shreveport on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
That was Erin McCarty at Adrian Perkins' party tonight, which has turned into a party after the results came in with 100% of the precincts reporting, and he in the lead with 29% of the vote. again, I've been harping on this number as we looked at the trends and the reports and everything that we looked at polling-wise coming into this race. I thought it was a race to 20. I thought two candidates would have 20% by the end of the night, and those two would move on. I was wrong because Adrian got 29%, Mayor Ali Tyler 24%, and Jim Taliaferro hits the 20% number but does not make the runoff, so off by 1 percentage point, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to be it was a – I really thought Jim was going to be able to pull it out at certain points during the evening. But
well, yeah, there was a point where you said he made a move where he jumped about 6 points and got within the 4 or 5 points that he ended of Ali Tyler. He ended just 4 points behind her. It looks like just a few thousand votes behind her, almost exactly. So if there was something somewhere that he could have gotten just a couple thousand more votes, it would have absolutely been a Jim Taliaferro, Adrian Perkins runoff. Ali Tyler would be out.
By the way, if I remember correctly, I pulled up the early voting results because that was on a separate little sheet. Jim and Adrian were the leaders in early voting.
Wow. So, I mean, that plays out with what we saw at the end of it, that both of them were pretty close when all's said and done. We're still waiting on some final results as far as the statewide elections go with the Secretary of State, and we're waiting on the final for the amendments across the state, but we can pretty much call it now. I mean, we can't officially call it, but all of the amendments are in a yes position with over 93% of precincts reporting, and the closest margin being about 12 percentage points on just a couple of them. 56% is the lowest number that we have with just a few precincts left to report across the entire state. So that's pretty much wrapped up. Looking at the Fox News probability meter, they've been calling it this way for a few hours now. They are projecting that control of the U.S. Senate will remain with the Republicans. That's over a 95% probability. And they are projecting that control of the U.S. House, the House of Representatives, will go blue. They are projecting that with over 95% certainty. That is the Fox News 2018 probability meter. So it has become quite a night, not just locally but across the country. I'm just now catching up with some of these questions on Facebook. By the way, we've been streaming all night long on Facebook. You can go back and watch the whole thing if you care to do such a thing. But we did have Tanya just ask, what about the amendments? Just kind of went over those. Statewide, 93% returned right now. 96%, sorry, just upped that, and it looks like the margin of yes across all 6 remains pretty high. 56% still the lowest. So at this point, with only 4% of precincts left to report, it looks like all 6 constitutional amendments will be yeses. The margin for the Secretary of State's race is about 10,000 votes.
Yeah, I was about to say, have you seen the update? It's 20.82% to 20%.
It is extremely tight in the Secretary of State's race right now, so that is very interesting to see that play out that way, considering that it was the least talked about statewide race that I have ever been a part of. So very, very interesting to see that.
I wonder if it's so close because people are like, well, that name sounds cool, or if they had some sort of working knowledge, or if they're just going off of the press they saw today on their way to the ballot box.
And that's what's very interesting to me. Now, this is a statewide race, so maybe Gwen Collins Greenup, who is barely in second place right now and is within striking distance of winning this thing, maybe she did really, really well from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, because I didn't see and or hear anything from the people I talked to or anybody that was talking about this. The only 2 names that I was hearing kicked around were Julie Stokes and Kyle Ardoin. Kyle Ardoin is the interim Secretary of State. He is in first place now. Julie Stokes, who I earlier today projected as potentially being number 2 in this race, only has 11%. She's down in like 4th or 5th place right now. So that to me, you don't talk about a race. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's advertising it. Nobody's polling the race. This is the kind of thing that happens. You get somebody like Gwen Collins Greenup sort of out of nowhere, all of a sudden just a few thousand votes away. Okay, let me. This is one we haven't updated in a while. In Caddo Parish, there was the .83 mills renewal for the parks. That was a yes vote with 63% of the vote. So parks will be funded for the next 10 years. in Caddo Parish based on that vote.
I know Rusty will be very happy about that, and so will all the bugs and hawks and snakes and everything else at the Walter B. Jacobs Nature Center.
Look at you.
Hey, Rusty tries to force me to eat crickets, so I figured I'd give him a plug now, so when next time he feels like cooking, I do not get offered maggot pie or whatever it was.
All right, we are just about to wrap up our coverage here for tonight. We're going to take you up to 10:30 tonight on our coverage. Pretty much everything is locked up now. There are still some national races that they are keeping track of. Fox News will have updates all throughout the night. We are going to keep you up to date with any changes that we could see throughout the evening online at keelnews.com. We will have more coverage tomorrow morning. Adrian Perkins will be joining Robert and Erin at 8:10 tomorrow, so you'll be able to hear from Adrian, the leader in the clubhouse.
I was just going to say, we do have Adrian on in the morning with Robert and Erin, but Robert is currently trying to get the mayor on, so before we hit the 10:30 mark, let's take a little break and see if we can get that done.
Let's do that. This is continuing election coverage on KEEL.
We'll be back with more election night coverage with Greg Adams and Matt Parker on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Perkins leading tonight, 29% of the vote. As far as the state amendments go, at last check, we were at 96% of the state reporting in, and it looks like all 6 constitutional amendments will be yes votes. We're looking at fantasy sports across our area. Yes votes to legalize fantasy sports in Caddo, Bossier, Claiborne, Red River, and Webster parishes. A no vote in Sabine Parish. DeSoto Sheriff Jason Richardson has won that election tonight. And we have a .83 mills renewal for parks in Caddo Parish. That was a 63% yes. We have a couple of shakeups in the Shreveport City Council races. Maybe the most noteworthy, James Green has beat Stephanie Lynch in District F. Looking nationally, the Fox News 2018 probability meter says that with over 95% certainty, the control of the U.S. Senate will remain with Republicans, and with over 95% certainty, control of the U.S. House of Representatives will go to the Democrats. Matt Parker, any parting words for tonight after what we have seen?
It was just an interesting night. I didn't see it going down exactly as it went down. I didn't see Bossier passing Fantasy sports. I didn't see Adrian beating Ollie. So it was a fascinating night, and I'm ready to see the fallout tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow morning will be very interesting. Robert and Erin have full coverage. Adrian Perkins is going to be on at 8:10. Not sure if he'll be in studio or on the phone. Based on how crazy the party gets tonight, he may He may be on the phone. He may be in the studio. We'll find out. This has been your KEEL election coverage. Thank you for spending time with us tonight on KEEL.
Well, some bumpy weather to get this week started with a chance for some scattered thunderstorms. So far, the heaviest weather has been off to our